So anyway, welcome to the podcast by Paulina
and Gemma.
All about frank, unscripted conversations between friends on everything to do with a balanced, happy life, sometimes business, sometimes personal, often quite ranty, always passionate.
Hi, I'm Gemma. I'm a professional problem solver and leadership coach obsessed with learning about being the best possible human. Reading all the books, doing all the training, trying all the holistic therapy.
Hi, I'm Paulina. I'm an operations and digital marketing manager by day and cat welfare, kitchen witch and tea fanatic by later day. Trilingual, self-development junkie, here to share all of my very many thoughts.
So how's things going?
Ugh. You know, it's a good start when you start with ugh to how you doing.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It's
how are you doing, Gemma?
Warm vibes.
Is it ugh? On the scale from like ugh to yay, where are you?
On the scale of ugh to yay, I'm probably about 50-50 at the moment.
Okay.
I was feeling ugh last week. Today I'm feeling a little bit fresher, so I'm... Wait, pause.
You just... No, you tell us. I'll just let my cat out. Bear with, guys.
Yeah, last week was a yucky week. This week I'm feeling a lot more positive. Yeah, I think I've got quite a good week planned, so I'm feeling good about that. And yeah, it doesn't feel like total ugh.
Okay, that's good. So we're steadily improving at 2.57% a day.
Yeah. Where are you?
Where am I? I was proper ugh on Friday, Saturday. This is mostly to do with where I'm in my cycle and some life stress as well. To do with a car, but I have a car now. Yay!
Just reminding you that nobody on this podcast knows what day of the week it is today. So
no, well, fair enough. You're just gonna have to work it out, guys. Get your detective goggles on. You can do it. No, just a mix of things. A mix of things. The biggest thing that was really taking over, which I didn't realise was taking over my head in some way, was the prospect of being without a car for a while. Not forever, but for a while. As you guys might not know, but those of you who do know, we live in the southwest in Somerset, so going around without a car is actually more problematic than it sounds, even though there are buses and trains. We're not even talking costs, just the sheer attempting to have my business and meetings or networking run around, like public transport. As soon as I pictured that, I feel like I'm getting breathless just talking about it.
Yeah, you're getting all activated.
Oh my God.
This is just meant to be the prelude. I feel like we're having a whole episode about
No, I wanted
your relationship
with my car. I love my car. No, it's the reality of when I started thinking about what it would be like to go longer without a car altogether, I just realised that even though I do count myself very lucky for having built my business in a way that suits me, as in I work from home, I schedule basically my entirety of my client work how I want, but there's things that aren't completely in my control, and that's a challenge I'm working on, dealing with that. And those things are things like when I have to engage with other people, which is a good thing, but I'm talking, for example, networking events. They are, at set spaces, times. I have to get there and be there, and to even think that I'd have to literally wipe out an entire day for a potential, for example, 1 hour networking event in Bristol. There's something awful that happens like in the pit of my stomach when I think of how, and it sounds silly because it's like, inconvenience, but if I think of an entire day that I could be like happily in my sort of, productive flow, that would then be thrown out like that. It's just another really great opportunity to go, absolutely, I get the privilege that I've now got a car with family help, but I've got the car. Yay, I have a car now. And it reminds me yet again of how important it is to have perspective that if I had to live only via public transport, it's crazy limiting. And that is for a socioeconomic injustice episode. But all of that was going through my head.
Like, you're talking about networking events and things like that, which are completely understandable. But where my head goes to is just you know, if we were to go to the sauna together, it's probably a 45-minute walk from here.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right.
You know, it's not... When you're living in towns, I think that you would... Like, smaller towns, I think you would assume that things are round the corner from each other. But actually, the distances are... Because of housing, etc., the distances are often quite big.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it definitely represents a lack of freedom and time.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I don't feel like I don't consider myself time poor per se. I do think that changes sort of week to week, depends what other demons are prancing around my head. But as soon as I think lack of my own independent transport, that's when I realise that actually I'm not as time rich as perhaps I am. I am, thanks to the fact that I can get places quicker. If I had to make that adjustment and make things 5 times as long, because a simple walk into town, even though it's a small town we live in, it's like, 30,000 or something population, a simple walk to town is good 25 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, so...
To be honest, you know, I think that there's... I don't even think the time poor thing is part of it, you know? It's just adding quite a significant amount of extra time onto what you're doing.
Yeah.
And people make lifestyle choices for different reasons. You know, when I lived in London, I didn't have a car. I didn't need a car. I didn't say that there was any point in having one. But since,
I get that.
You know, moving to the southwest, it is much more important. And if you grow up being used to some kind of ability to get around, and then all of a sudden that's taken away from you, it just makes things harder.
Yeah, especially when it's external things, like the car just eventually gives out. It's, you know, it's too old, it's whatever, that happens all the time. And you just go, oh, I'm so sorry.
Where are you on the scale now?
So on the scale, that was, see, all of that, that's how big it was in my head. Like, I just had to get that out. What, good 5 minutes? You're welcome. On the scale, I'm definitely more now. I've decided to continue with the noises rather than percentages. I feel like
Can you do the noise for 100% joy?
Yay!
Right, okay. What's a sort of 7 out of 10? Can you go through, actually? 1 to 10, making the different sounds.
Oh, God. Okay, I could... I dug this hole, didn't I?
You've done it. Okay, so let's start at 1.
Guys, shovel in hand. I'm digging. Okay. I'm starting at 1. So it's like...
Yeah.
Ugh.
2.
Hold on.
Okay, so it's just a bit quieter.
Yeah.
Okay, 3.
No.
4.
No.
5. 6.
I don't know where I'm going with this scale. I'm now trying to connect this intrigued noise I just made to the full yay that's at the top.
Yeah,
which apparently I only have 5 steps to get to.
Well, you're on 6 now.
I'm on 6 now. Yay. But okay, it's a constrained.
7.
Oh shit.
There's a lot to go between 6 and 10 here.
And I got to yay already. I jumped from, like, you know, questioning
People don't
to
normally
yay.
say 6 is yay. Do you want to redo 6?
Oh. Yeah, okay, I'm going blank on 6. I'm going blank on 6. Do you have a suggestion? Oh, I like that. Okay. What would you say for 7?
No.
Come on, turn it around on you. No.
So what did I do?
Yeah. Ah, okay. Okay, so 8 would be like, huh.
Yeah. 9 would be...
Yes! That's like a, yeah.
And then... Yay!
Full yay.
10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where I am on the scale.
Wait, so what was that?
I think I'm there. Yeah,
I think
I've upgraded.
I feel like that was around a 4 to a 5.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. So putting the car issue to bed as it is now, mostly resolved, and that has improved me on my scale of eugh-to-YAY. Other things that have been forefront of my mind, I'm doing so much, oh my goodness, so much work on the back end of my business. I'm doing a lot of rechecking in with my missions, my values, you know, how I'm sort of my audience, how I'm showing up to what end, and also recalibrating, you know, like with reflections we talked about every now and then, sometimes through some ritual times through the year that are determined by the seasons, and sometimes your own personal milestones. You go, where am I? What have I achieved? What am I doing next? And I'm sort of there now. So I'm coming up to what is my self-determined sort of business quieter time of the year. That's just a sort of early spring. So end of winter, early spring, things usually just calm down. You've got your sort of stable clients, and then things somewhere around when people have paid their tax and they go, oh, thank God that's done. Now I can look to the future. Things kick off again and new ideas kick off, new ideas spring into action. And that's quite an exciting sort of fizzing time around spring. So it's good for me to always check in as we come out of this winter hibernation and spring starts springing gently. Where is it that I am? Where's my business? What do I want to achieve next? And it's got me thinking a lot about, you know, what is that? What is success? How am I defining whether I have or haven't? I'm just going to comment on this. Gemma nearly knocked off the mic. But it's fine.
It's fine. I've got cramp in my legs.
It's all good. So, so it got me thinking, it got me reflecting, of course, on a tangent rather than reflect on my own successes or whatever improvements I want to make. She avoids saying failures. I've gotten to thinking, oh, but what defines a success? And I've sort of gone off on there, and it's part of conversations I've been having with a few other fellow business owners have been around, you know, I'm just really listening into what they define as their successes. And it's got me thinking about how a lot of what people consider success seems to be around these milestones, these achievements that seem to be quite external as well. You know, do X by when you're 30 years old, do X by 40, or, you know, do this amount of income or revenue in a year, or, you know, on board this many clients, or, you know, I'm coming up with ones that aren't that sort of controversial, but the sort of a lot of the age related ones I take a lot of issue with. And a lot of the other success stuff seems to fall short quite quickly as well, or at least in my friends' sort of consideration, because they seem to be comparing them and thinking of them in the way of originality. Sorry, that took me a while to get there, but I was trying to work my way through that point. There's so much nuance to this whole topic. That basically they don't seem to consider themselves a success enough. So they have their own metrics, like those revenue goals or whatever. And yet sometimes when they talk about that, they'll still downplay really hard, because there seems to be that great other big idea of, I don't know, this like original concept, original idea, this great big inventor that existed whenever.
Okay.
And these like sort of mythical, original wheel breaker sort of figures. And I'm going to name two people now who are not my top choices, but they come to mind first, like Jobs or Gates, where they're like, oh, you know, high school dropout, made $1 million in a month. What a genius, you know, like, you know, why aren't you like him? And it's funny how no one's saying to them, why aren't you like him? It's just something that we seem to have like absorbed as a pressure to go, oh, but, you know, I only am a small business. I only am these really minimizing ways to talk about yourself and your successes, just because you didn't come up with that crazy idea that's super original. And until you come up with that idea, like, why bother to try harder or differently?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
threw a lot at you there.
Yeah, just, you know.
I just tried to walk you through it.
Just, you know, processing. I've gone down on the scale. No, I haven't. So your summary is that when looking at success, people often come up with somewhat arbitrary things, but also everybody thinks, you know, I need to create the next iPhone, I need to create the next massive thing, you know, and actually that doesn't always work for everybody.
Yes.
So from my perspective, it would be, because I am not a 25-year-old coach that's working with, you know, CEOs of Apple, then I've already failed. That's right.
And I'm hearing a lot of that, or maybe some of that, but I'm hearing, you know, the whispers of that in between how we all talk about our own successes, and we seem to be sort of measuring them to these great ideals, and I do believe they are these myths of these outliers that were being sold, because these are not every other person. It's not your, you know, 1 in 3, 1 in 5. These are absolute crazy examples, and I'll keep saying of outliers because I'm just thinking of in like statistical sense, of people who had the luck And I don't think it's helpful to then be thinking, oh, if only I had been in that place or the right place, right time. Because that's often something we hear as well. Oh, you just have to be like in the right place at the right time, and that's when things will happen for you. It's like, well, but you don't know what that means. It's so intangible, and it almost frustrates me when that comes out, because it seems arbitrary, it's unhelpful, and also all it really does is ends up, I think a lot of people that I've had this sort of vague remnants of this conversation with, they end up, like you said, they end up just sort of thinking, well, I'm never going to achieve that because I'm not the one who's going to come up with that, or I already haven't come up with that original idea. I'm not one of, Forbes 30 under 30, so why bother? These crazy lists that get put together in business, in finance, in media, you then look at that and you go, oh, well, but that's not me. So
what would...
deflating much,
What would you have instead?
But what I have instead? None of it. No, burn it all!
If you were going to give me the flip, of something which can feel like success, for me, say, for example, what looks better?
Okay, looks is a tricky one. I know what works better.
Okay, what would work better?
And it's a real boring answer, guys. Real boring. You ready? It's consistency. It's actually just consistency. Again, off the back of these conversations, I'm just sort of thinking, okay, so, right, we can all just, get a shovel and start digging our own graves, because why are we bothering? Like, just get going now. Just lie down in there and wait for your day, because you're done. You're done. You've not achieved all these things that were never on your mind map or vision board to achieve anyway. But yes, you should kick your ass for not doing them. And instead, you could just be doing the things, the small actions all the time that are aligned with what you're trying to achieve.
Is that the kind of Atomic Habits vibe?
Do you know what? Still haven't read that, but yes, I think so. From what I gathered off the Spark Notes, yes.
Small micro habits like you do daily, and you make them as small as possible, and then you kind of habit stack and you add other things to them.
But also they don't need to be daily. Do they have to be daily in Atomic Habits?
Well, actually, I can't remember because I read it ages ago.
But yes, it is. That's right. So it's getting the consistent action that will get you closer and closer to your goal over a longer period of time. But really taking that pressure off of going, well, but I need to come up with this great new idea that will like completely break the other ideas. And that's when I can take action. Because, well, I mean, tough truth, guys, but what if you don't? And why is it a problem that you're not the one who's reinventing the wheel? Most of us will not reinvent the wheel, and that's okay. Like, it's fine. You're still a unique person with a unique experience, unique world of view, and yet not unique enough that you can connect to masses. And that from that connection can spark something absolutely wonderful. That can also be a financial success if you want it to be as a business, or it can be a charity success or whatever, which also needs money. These things can happen, and they don't require you to be this mythical creature that's been like built up by media and sort of historical retelling of this I don't know, the story of Apple. Let's hold on to Steve Jobs because it seems like an easy analogy. We don't need to like build up such a monolith, such like a monster out of that in our own heads that just lives there rent free going, but I'm not him.
But how do you make someone feel really excited by that? Because we are all unique 100%, and we're all original in our own ways. And I guess that the difference in what you're saying is you don't need to aspire to have reached this crazy goal, but you can still live and believe that and know that you're original and that you're unique, and that your successes will be really successful for you. Like, that's a good mindset to have. How can you take that consistency point and make people feel really empowered and driven towards it?
I think that's where community will come in a lot of the time. That's a bit, it's a good question. It's a bigger question that you're asking me here as well, because you're not asking me, what actions could they take? Because that's a bit different as well. But I think the way to, first of all, just trying to really not pay attention and shed that need to compare, that comparatitis, as I call it, that need to compare yourselves to some Goliaths of an industry. Because don't forget, part of the Goliath is the marketing, actually. Like, they are probably not at all like the people that we think they are. It's just how they've been built up as an image. It's brand, guys. It's personal brand. And I'm not saying everyone's lying, but part of a personal brand is to build a whole image and a story and tell you that story that takes you on a journey to then see them as these great figures. Who says you can't do the same? They are just people, and it's that idea that if you can have a community around you and people who understand you and know you and appreciate your point of view, trust your point of view, you can start trusting that your story is worth telling.
Yeah.
If your story's worth telling, you want to tell the story, and you start taking the consistent action to tell that story.
Yeah, I'm loving that idea. I love that idea. I also think that there's something, I don't know if it's a separate point, but a similar point around, you know, around this kind of balanced and happy life. And actually, you know, that if you aspire, if you kind of put things out of balance, so for example, you aspire to do something like create Apple, and you make that your entire world, then you're going to really overly prioritize your work from maybe other aspects of your life, you know, your personal life, your health. And whereas that I think both of us, actually it's a much more integrated feeling, and success and consistency are about living, at least for me, like my purpose and my values and my mission with the work that I do, the interactions that I have, how I show up in the world. And so I can't be attracted to how can I be creating the next iPhone, because I love the idea of creating something really original, and you know, but I also know that the way that I live my life is really original, and that has to be the balance.
Yeah,
so I'm just really banging my own drum.
You are the best. Yes, correct. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
No.
That's it. Yeah.
She's left. No, she hasn't.
Mic drop.
No, don't. That's a really good point, and I love that, and I think that's something I relate to, and maybe that's why I react so strongly to someone bringing up these sort of other big examples to me, because I'm sort of going, okay, cool, so we can just sit around and waste our only lives comparing ourselves to people that we'll never bloody meet, not just because he's already dead, but also like the likelihood we won't, but also we are by putting so much hope on like a person and having this like cult of personality around one representative of whatever industry or goal you're aspiring to or you find inspirational in some way, we are absolutely forfeiting the fact that, or forgetting that there's probably countless other people that are way more accessible to you or closer to you in mission and values that I haven't even thought of. Like, how many women have been these unsung heroes in their industries as well, that we don't even think to, like, I'm annoyed, if anything, to do more research and go, hey, let's, you know, give a woman as an example. But actually it speaks to my point that I'm saying Steve Jobs, because it's such a repeated so often as an example of this greatness in an industry that I couldn't even think of. Oh, like, let me find a woman's name to
and you
say
know what, in some ways as well, like Steve Jobs kind of, I don't know, like, you know, when I think about him, it's actually really interesting that you think about that originality point, because I see him as so sort of, just bear with, tea pouring, as has come to be common in our podcast. I see him as so, you know, he wore a uniform basically every day. He was the guy that set up the idea of wearing the, you know, the work uniform. He didn't have any flair in that way to his personality, whereas I think to myself, whenever I go to a meeting, I want to be wearing, you know, pink or orange or bright colours, and just be standing out and be showing and being actually what I consider to be original.
See, okay, and that's interesting, because as you were saying that, I thought, oh, there's your originality. See, that's where you're showing up in a way that's authentic and original. And like, why, that's enough, right? That's enough. We don't need to now be coming up with like arbitrarily original things for the sake of them being different to something else and then being disappointed that someone's thought of that. Of course someone's bloody thought of that. Does it make it any less valid? No, go do it. Just go do it. Like, I could go through my entire business right now, service by service, and go, is there someone out there who does that? 100%. There's millions of other marketers offering what I offer. That doesn't make my business invalid.
Yeah.
That doesn't make, because I'm me, and the way I
I think that's the core of it, really, isn't it? It's about you.
And you have to believe
not
your message.
Comparing.
No.
And so I actually think, like, as we kind of come towards the end...
Which end? Because as we come towards the end...
Of this episode.
Of this episode.
Of this.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
It's a little bit needy there, Paulina. She's obviously having a hard time.
I'm fine.
As we come towards the end of the episode, I'm thinking actually, I'm just going to disagree with your original thing, God. With it being about kind of originality and consistency, and say that it's much more about
authenticity
and believing in yourself.
I said it first.
Yeah. We're finishing each other's sentences now.
Oh, cringe. But I love it. No, you're right. Yes, I think
we said we're the least original and authentic by just being each other.
Yeah, you're right. That is the core. You're completely right, because we start the conversations like, originality versus consistency, and I did that on purpose. It's not like one beats the other, one trumps the other. It's what context do you put them together or against? Do we have to pit them against one another? The truth is no. Just like we don't have to pit each other against one another.
Yeah,
like we just don't. And it's, if you can show up and believe, and I will say it again. If you can start working on, if you don't already have that, if you have an inkling on it, a little seedling of that trust, and keep nurturing it, and surround yourself with people who will nurture that seedling, and that seedling is the trust of your own message, trust in you, that what you have to say is valuable, is important, and the way you approach it will resonate with enough people to achieve the goals you want to achieve. And you can have whatever goals you want, but you won't achieve them on your own. You need the people around you, be that clients or people to support you, ideally both. And with that, you can grow the trust in your message. That trust in your message will make other people trust it as well. Yeah. And it's all about then showing up authentically within that message. What do you stand for? Why do you want to do it? How do you want to do it? That will come through stronger than anything else. That will become your brand. It's just you. It'll be the most effortless thing that you can, ironically, the most effortless thing that you can actually do, because you're not masking, you're not putting on anything.
Be more yourself.
Be more you, guys.
So anyway,